Good evening, everyone. I'm very, very happy to see you all here. I'm Hanna Komer, a Belarusian poet based in London, and this is a book launch of my book, Ribwort. And thank you. It's very important for me to be doing this and to have you all here. And first, I'd like to say thank you to the to the venue, to the cafe hosting us, and to Petra, who is helping me to organize it. And she'd like to say a few words and read her poetry. Petra is also a poet, and along with my books, which are over there on the table, you can buy her books. Probably better after the event. We can sign them if you'd like. But yeah, Petra, please.
Hello everybody, my name is Petra and I'm going to introduce Hanna in this event. So I met Hanna at the European Poetry Festival in 2022. We haven't really spoken there, but then we met again at a fundraiser for Ukraine that Cherry Smith organized. Thank you very much for introducing us, Cherry. And coincidentally, in the summer of 2023, we both published books, poetry collections, and Hanna was posting on her Instagram that she was looking for a place where she could host her book launch, basically. And I reached out to her because I'm familiar with this place because I work for Dance International. That is a youth organization that works with artFix, which is this space. So basically we met again, and then we had a very long conversation about our poetry collections, and we discovered that we were interested in a similar thing, which is our home countries and how they're perceived by the Western world. And we also exchanged our poetry collections. And I promised Hanna that I would read her book in both English and Belarusian, because I can read Cyrillic, because I've studied Russian at school, which is like similar kind of writing to Belarusian. And I wrote a short review for Ribwort as well. So it was an absolutely fascinating journey to see how poetry transcends and transforms through language, because you can read it in both Belarusian and English. And some of the names and objects were more familiar to me in English, some of them in Belarusian, and I could relate to the marginal feeling of being split between two identities or two countries. But I think the beauty of being a human is being a multiplicity, being able to contain and absorb multiple identities and even origins. And I feel like Ribwort is a sensitive account of healing, both personal and political, in the context of abusive tendencies found in both these contexts. And Ribwort contains multiple testimonies and witnesses the political situation in Belarus and how the poet and the nation reacts to it. I feel like the book itself is a multiplicity, and that's where I found the beauty of this collection, in not being singular and in not being interpretable in one way. And I would like to thank Hanna again, and I would like to thank Josh and Sophie for performing this night. And I would like to thank Cherry again for introducing me to all these people. Thank you so much. And thank you to artFix for providing this space. And I've got a quotation at the end of this speech. So in her book, The Embassy of Cambodia, Zadie Smith said that the fact that if we follow every history of every little country in the world, in its dramatic as well in its quiet times, we would not have the space left to live our own lives. Yet tonight we came to follow one of these histories, to listen and see, to give the time in our lives, because we will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. I am the laundry our washing machine snorts. I spin it with my bare hands, then I dry it with my hair. I am the empty dishwasher. I am the full dishwasher until you shout for an empty dishwasher. Then you fill us up again. I don't shout for being emptied or filled up. Wash Series 4 SMV4H dishwashers are super silent. I am the thin string beans I cut with a blunt knife. You said my hands might be too soft to use a sharp one. I am my red acrylic nails you peeled off with a cheese grater. We will not be silenced. You said that they might be too sharp. You said they might be sharp enough to cut the string beans, but too sharp for a she. I am my bleeding hands after you took my nails. I am the blood in the bean soup you drank greedily. I am the bean soup which was too salty. We will not be silenced. I am the whiskers of the great kitten I had to drown because you said there was 4, and 3 was how many we could keep. I am its wiggling happy tail to feel my touch. We will not be silenced. I am its little curious meow when I brought the blue bucket. I am its yellow eyes that brewed in the cold water. I am its nose that got all puffy. I am the wooden cross I built on its shallow grave. We will not be silenced. You are the maggots feasting on the pink puffy nose. I am your callous hand which took me by my neck. I am your cracked lips which yelled, "Go and look again." I am my daughter's black rabbit crouching in the barn. You said he would do. I am the house person who knew how to strike the blow. We will not be silenced. I am Fluffy's last testicle that fell off with the rest of its bleeding fur, and the space between his ribs that looked like red paper sheets. We will not be silenced. You are the blood that braved the January snow. We will not be silenced. I am the broken Fluffy who died of old age promise, playing on repeat. We will not be silenced. I am the crack in the door you hit with your fist. We will not be silenced. You blamed it on our baby and our baby would not stop. I am the shit on our baby's ass you refused to wipe. We will not be silenced. I was your fist when you missed the crib. I was your tears that washed our baby's face. I was your fist again when you broke my nose. We will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. My nose that bled when you ran out of tears. And I was my grown-up daughter when my grown-up daughter was yelling, "Daddy, Daddy, do not join the green." We will not be silenced. She told you to meet the people with glasses, opening hours and questionable sofas instead. We will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. Say it with me. We will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. I was in your cold grin when you laughed at my grown-up daughter and passed your gun to our third unnamed sperm. Thank you.
I wanted to say that as a woman, as a Belarusian woman who grew in a patriarchal country and who grew up in a dysfunctional family, I'm not used to taking space. You know, all my life I've been trying to take as little space as possible and almost be invisible. And poetry is what has helped me to actually take space. But also people who've been around and who've been supporting me on your way, and you are today those people who are supporting me in taking space, and I'm happy to be sharing this space with you. This book, Ribwort, Ribwort is a plant. Is a plant with healing properties. In Belarus, when I was as a child, our parents would often, you know, when you have a scratch or like some little, skin damage, my parents would tell me to, or our parents would tell us to put a leaf of Ribwort to the wound, so it would heal. And the idea of the book is that by facing these complicated, difficult, sometimes traumatic experiences, by finding words for them and helping other people find words for them, we can start healing. And once we heal, we can help other people heal as well. This is what I believe in. This book is dedicated to my friend Alexei Strelnikov. You will find the dedication and you may question who that is. He was a friend of mine and we lost him in January in a tragic incident. And he had always been there for me, and I didn't even realize that until I lost him. And I'm sure he would be happy for me now as well. Now I'll start reading the poems. Dublin Night is actually the poem that gave the title to the collection. Wrap around me like Ribwort, softly listening to the echo of quiet tramway tracks, the endless pounding of the weary drums, and the heartbeat of the speakers, identifying tourists by the accents of their laughter, till my wounds merge with your leaves. The next poem, I think we don't really need to clap because it can be just, sorry, I'm not telling you what to do. Thank you. Yeah, you don't have to, but you can, of course. Sorry, Jesus. Yeah, I write poems, quite a few, about my relationship with parents, because I think it's important. And when I read this poem, it's quite universal. It doesn't matter in what country I read it, people usually understand, so maybe you can relate as well. It's called To Unify. Do this. Come for a visit, sit in front of them, say, I need to talk to you, and start crying. Cry for everything they haven't been for you. Cry that they never grew up and didn't protect you from themselves, that you still can't lean on them, that staring out of the window is more amusing than being in their space. I'm just like you sounds sick. Cry that escaping from them you throw yourself into the wrong arms. For anxiety wakes up before you and sings, sleep, baby. It's so scary and so unsafe out there. You won't make it on your own. Don't even think you can. Find someone to cling to adhere and get attached to. Let him carry the responsibility for your happiness. You can stay a little girl for a while longer. Cry steadily, chokingly, take no breaks. You don't want to give them time to disagree. It's okay if they are confused. It's okay they don't understand. Exchanging glances and sharing guilty silence. If all you have accomplished on your own cannot unite them, maybe guilt will. And another one. Now, I was trying to understand my father, why he is what he is and why he does what he does, or did what he did. And obviously, I was trying to see him just as a human being as well, you know. He also was a child, and I know the story about him. My mom told me that when he was around about 7 years old, he saw how his father cut a chicken's head off. And that impressed him and probably traumatized him so much that he couldn't eat chicken for years and years, for decades after that, even as a grown-up. And I was trying, you know, to maybe find the roots of who he is and try to see a vulnerable human being in him too. Bounded. Bounded by a semolina lump, by the hem of mom's skirt, by the cup cracked along the rose, by the flower given to mom, not by her husband. Bounded by mom's husband, while he is bounded by the memory of the chicken's head, which his father cut off in front of his eyes. How can you not be bounded after that? What if all of a sudden it's you who, or it's your head, bounded by an egg, by chain link fencing, by a grain, by verdicts, by father's name, by mom's lump, the hem of her skirt? Now that you know what kind of beast I am, set me free or run. And this poem, I actually, when I was preparing the final draft for publication, I realized, I read the poem again, and I thought, this is unfair. This is about my mom, and I thought, this is not, what did I write? This is unfair to her. It's not true, you know, because I had a couple of years to actually reconsider it. But then I thought I'd keep it, and I tell about my mom, and I talk about my mom, because she deserved that I talk about her. And all our mothers and all women and who, you know, who couldn't maybe give us what we needed because they didn't have it, and it wasn't their fault, it's because the states let them down and used them and exploit them because their fathers maybe weren't there for them, and because their husbands aren't there for them and aren't there for us. So, yeah. Sick and fatigued, I wake longing for someone to lie beside me. Someone who doesn't want to fuck me. Friends, male and female, needed and wanted. I consider my mama. If I come to her, lie down by her side, I will make her the happiest mama. But I can't. Because when I'd get sick as a child, she'd check my temperature and give me medication rather than lying next to me, singing and crying, rather than whispering to me, "Forgive me, my little girl, that no one taught me affection." I can sometimes just start crying when I perform my own poetry, so don't be surprised. Yeah, this poem volunteer. 2016-17, I volunteered in Ireland as a social care worker with people, with adults who had disabilities, different kinds. And I was looking after this woman. And I got very much depressed. And you know, there are two fears, two of the biggest fears that people have is one, fear of death, but the other one is actually fear of going insane. So I think I had that fear back then. I look after this woman, my mother's age, who looks like my grandmother and acts as if she was my daughter. I am no doctor, and she is not in a nursing home. During the day, we play at normality. At night, we mix butter with sugar, flour, and eggs. Together we eat our depressive episodes dry. The next poem also has a story. It's called A Book from the Sky, and I was inspired. The same title is the title of a installation that was made, I think, back in 1988 by a Chinese artist, Hu Bing. He created an installation consisting from 4,000 characters, which looked like Chinese characters, but were actually not Chinese characters. So, and could not be read. 4,000 non-existent characters. The history of my anxiety, carved in wood by silence. 4,000 non-existent characters. An installation of my dreams in the Museum of Insomnia. Tossing and turning on the white sheets of pages. Smashing against the soft walls of the covers. Crying into the straitjacket of opinions. 4,000 non-existent characters. The poetry of abuse. The dictionary of hope. No matter how many voices teach me to speak, I remain illiterate. I have some, so this book kind of has not very strict but visible sections. One of them is my romantic relationships, although there are not many romantic or love poems, I think, at least fewer than they used to be in my first collection. And why I decided to read this one today, although I don't feel like that anymore, thankfully, but it's taken years of work to not. But I think many people still do. And if you've ever been in a codependent relationship, you will know what I'm talking about. I'm that girl who will never grow up. The one for whom you are the source of insatiable intimacy, unconditional security, and warmth. You are the only one my eyes can see clearly without thick-lensed glasses. My throaty words, you can translate them into poetry and take credit for them. Others will accept it. Hold my hand on escalators. Don't let go of it in uncrowded buses. Sharp sounds, flashy smells, greasy glances frighten me. Let's stay in. Read aloud for me. Brush my hair. Forget about the street, its unrhythmic breathing, its greed that takes you away. Hold me. You will never feel such faithfulness from a grown-up woman. Oh, here we are. We have a song today. Let me just find the page and then I'll continue speaking. So, yeah, that's another love poem. I think the last poem, I think in this poem, I'm the most fragile from all the poems in this book, although I'm very often vulnerable in these poems, but I think I'm the most fragile in this one. And my friend Flora wrote a song of this poem. I would like to read it in Belarusian first, because I'd like you to also hear the language, the sound of the language, the music of the language, and then we will hear the music that Flora created for this poem. Гэтае мора внутры, супакоіцца, калі я раскажу, як лічыла твае радзімкі і складала з іх новы сусвет. Якія прывіды падступалі да цябе, пакуль ты спаў, як я аддала ім ланцужкі свае да пярсцёнкі і нават чырвоныя туфелькі. Як я дыхала ледзь-ледзь па іх сыходзе, каб не разбудзіць цябе. І мае лёгкія ператварыліся ў асеннія лісцікі. Гэтае мора ўнутры супакоіцца, калі я раскажу, а ты почуєш мене. Дякую. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Hannah, for bringing us together, and also not only do you write the best poetry, but you give the best hugs. And it feels like this poem and this book really feels like a hug, and I feel like with everything that's happening in the world, we all need more hugs, and I think hopefully this song will feel like a hug for all of you. You can't hear, no, it's a little bit
too much echo.
Too much echo.
You got feedback.
I got feedback. Or maybe without, maybe even, can we have it less loud?
Yes, I've switched that a bit less loud as well. This one I don't know about.
Yeah.
We will manage it.
Yeah.
Is it okay now? Is it better now?
Yes. Maybe try moving the mic just a little bit closer.
Okay, I will have the mic closer.
Don't set your mic.
We have practiced before, so it wouldn't happen, but of course it happens. I think, is that okay?
Yeah.
It's better? Yeah. Okay. Now we are good to go. What phantoms came to you when you were asleep? I give you ghosts, my rings, my necklaces, and my little red shoes. I was barely breathing, just as he left, not to awake you. And my lungs became autumn leaves. You see, inside me will come down when I tell you.
We speak of listening here because the song and the poem was about the sea inside me will calm down if I speak and you listen. And I have another poem called Listen. Can you still hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, great. And I wrote this poem and I thought, because often when you write poems, you think, okay, this is how it's gonna be, Sometimes you feel like you even predict things or doom, I don't know. But every time I do this, when I don't listen and I have preconceptions and I ruin things, and then I remember about this poem and I think, shit, why didn't I should, have it with me all the time, probably, I don't know, but yeah. And when you talk to me, I wish I did not dress it in the suits my parents wore, nor died in childhood, nor decorate it with experience, not cut it off mid-sentence, not rub it into snot, not flush it down the toilet, not sweep it into a pile, not burn it over the gas, not run it over with a truck, not drag it face down on the asphalt, not imagine, not guess, not know it. I wish I could hear what you mean. Thank you. I'd really like to share this poem and this story about. I think I like the story even more than I like the poem. If I find it, of course. Yeah, I found it. So when I was still living in Belarus, once I was coming back from a very long trip from Bulgaria through Poland, and on this border city between, like when you come from Poland to Belarus, Brest is the city at the border, one of the borders. And I came there at 11 p.m. and the next train to Minsk, and I needed to get to Minsk, and the next train was 7 in the morning. Which meant that I would have to wait, obviously, for 7, 8 hours at quite a dodgy train station, young and tired. And then a girl who heard my conversation with at the ticket office. She was wearing, so she looked like a Muslim woman, and this is very rare in Belarus. And so she came up to me and asked what happened and if she could help, and I told her, well, I guess not, you can't help because I just have to wait at the station for the night. And then she said, well, you can come over to my place and stay there overnight. So imagine that's just a random person, right? And she didn't know me, and I didn't her. And I said, yeah, of course, I'll be grateful. And I spent the night, and we talked half the night, and she told me about herself, that she was a Belarusian young woman who adopted this religion, Islam, because she found the answers to the questions she had. And a few years later, I met her. And it turned out that she got married to a Muslim man, and they lived in Morocco, and then bad things happened, abuse happened, and she left him, luckily. So she's not there anymore. But I just wrote a poem about her story. Amira was her name. You only cried once, when I happened to sit on your glasses. You only laughed with me twice. I don't remember why. Suddenly there was so much light, as if I had been given a sun, only for me. I cried every second day, then every day, my skin burning, when the eggs spit in the pan, when the boiling hot tea spilled over my hands, when your mother didn't believe my single word. I cried every third night, after those 3 minutes with the lights off, when you allowed me to wear no clothes, which hid the wrinkles of my belly. A baby could smooth it out, but I had 10 more kilos to lose till your consent. My soul was wailing like a street trader at the central market of Casablanca, that your goods were the best. I didn't believe her, but got them, time after time. Now that's a warning for my performance. There will be one short poem, not from the track list, and then our performance. We'll have some music and movement. It's gonna be nice. Radiation. Some of you may know, some not, but Belarus, very often, if people know about Belarus, they know because of Chernobyl. Because of children who were hosted by some families in different countries, I know in Ireland and Italy, probably all over the world. And it's true because after the Chernobyl explosion, the winds were directed towards Belarus. And 70%, and Belarus, took in 70% of the radiation. But this poem is not just about that radiation, but also about the patriarchy, because I think it's toxic as well. Well, it's not that I think, it is toxic. Cartilage crackles when I open my arms to let you in. My knees are sore. It's hard for me to run where your freedom flies, far beyond my contaminated poetry. I'm radiating love, loaded with plutonium. Lead me to my tumors and find some non-radioactive womb. Thank you. And now we also have a performance. I'll be reading a poem, and Josh will be playing music, and Sophie will be dancing, doing movement, translating the poem into movement. My shadows walking through the woods, scared of everything, sprouting stumps, weird insects, talking trees. As if this world revolved around me, always. As if the roots across the past stuck out for me to trip over them and fall all the way. As if moss didn't grow on trees, so that it couldn't be my landmark. What else would you expect from a shadow of the shadow, walking through dark woods? Тень горы, мой тень і тінь від тіню. Так йду праз лес, боючися всього, харчу, слизьких вусенів, того, як древи розмовляють. Нібито гэты свет завжди круціўся вакол мяне. Нібито карані пасярод сцежкі тырчаць адно, каб я праз іх упала і падала усю дарогу. А мох на дрэвах не расце, каб мне не быць арыенцірам. Чаго яшчэ чакаць? Ад ценю, што ідзе па цёмным лесе. This poem I wrote a few years ago when I was in Erfurt. Erfurt is a town in Germany, and they have a museum in place of a factory, Topfen Sons, and that factory they produced incineration ovens that were used during the Second World War. We all know what for. And there was the senior engineer there, Kurt Prüfer. So I read his testimonies that were there and Googled his testimonies that he gave at the Nuremberg process. And I wrote this poem kind of from his eyes. You know, those people, they always have explanations for the atrocities they do. That is not me on the balcony in the autumn heat. I am Kurt Prüfer. I was underpaid by the top brothers for so long that I ended up working for ashes. I, Kurt Prüfer, was at least a German engineer. How can they justify themselves? The Jews, communist war prisoners who built the ovens from my designs for Dachau, Buchenwald, Auschwitz, Mauthausen, the Mogilov ghetto. That is not me on the balcony in the autumn heat. Nearby ashes cover windows, floors, tables, and plates. Among the ashes, who can identify age, sex, relatedness, innocence? That is not me on the balcony in the autumn heat. After 1945, I just can't stand the heat. I am the senior engineer at Topfen Zone. That is not me on the balcony in the autumn heat. Ovens splatter ash every 24 hours. Ashes don't smell like gas. Ashes smell like success and prospects. If I hadn't designed them, someone else would have. Those in line for ovens are so many, like shoes, teas, diaries. They're just ashes. Even under threat of the gulag. Who, if not me? He did die in the gulag in the end. Okay, right. So in 2020 in Belarus, we had another presidential election. For almost 30 years now, we had a dictator in power. And in 2020, in August, on the 9th of August, we had another presidential election, and it was the results were fabricated as always. But then a big, huge protest followed it, and it continued for months. A lot of people were imprisoned, and in the first 3 days, people were just taken from the streets and put to prisons, and they were tortured. There could be like 50 people in the cell for 8. And one of those days, on the 10th of August, no, the 11th of August, I was just coming back home with my friend. He's a man, and he was arrested by the police just because he was a man and he had a big bag, and we were living in the city center, and we couldn't find him anywhere. We were calling all the police stations and we couldn't find him. And then on the 4th day, he called from a hospital. At least he was alive, and so that's a poem about him, but actually about many other Belarusians in those and the following months and months. We couldn't find you that night on autodial. Tones like batons, like rubber bullets directed at you. 130, 131, long tone. Our morning face on concrete, kicked from unconsciousness, 3 days without food. There is no answer to all our white flowers and red hearts. Human body and memory withstand injuries incompatible with our belief in the better. We rename the colors, fear, anxiety, mourning, to loving, resistance, and hope. When it's over, I will help you paint these bare walls, white, red, white. And the walls are bare because he actually wanted to paint them, and he was bringing paint to paint his walls, and obviously he disappeared in the paint. And white and red and white are our colors. Our historical flag, and also the colors of the protest. You could be arrested for just wearing a white and red scarf or socks or a hat, and people wear. Okay, okay. Do you want to hear? Okay, sorry, I'm just worried that maybe it's too much, but okay, I'm here anyway. I was also arrested later in September 2020, and I was arrested, I say just for 9 days. And it wasn't that bad compared to other people, to what people were going through after that. So yeah, the poem In Our Prison Cell. In our prison cell, the 4 of us share everything. Liquid white and sticky ochre light. Bed squeaking, the cold curling up, the sun behind the thick window, fresh air from the gaps between window frames, free trains rumbling, iron doors clashing, tapping against the wall. Lonely Belarus. Warm water in the shower, deodorant, a newspaper with crossword puzzles, the voice reading aloud, second times, questions, curses, nightmares, and the very words, when I'm out of here. Well, I think it's time to finish, and I would like to read a poem which is called To My Audience, because I think you deserve all the poems, dedicated to you as well, because without readers, listeners, friends, supporters, it would be very difficult to be a poet. So I'm grateful that you're all here, and yeah. I want to memorize you from inside. While you are listening to my poem in the language of a soul, from the sea that I wrapped around as if it were a whale. My poem about the waves painting over the shore with the coming of even fall, about the sun melting out of love for the world, while I'm feeling around for its weak spot and resolving the gulls' disputes and reading 1,000 mornings. The sun falls asleep over the sea. The goosebumps tickle my skin, and the sea's skin is warmer than mine. The vagabond birds are licking the lips of the fishes, whose mouths are salty from keeping silent. And the sky was written to be translated. And I want to memorize you from inside. Thank you so much. Thank you, Petra, for helping me to organize it. And this city is still new for me. I didn't know much. Thank you, Josh and Sophie, for co-creating as well. Thank you, Flora, for co-creating. Thank you, all my friends who've been supporting, who've been helping me as well, who are here today or not here today as well. Thank you all who I meet for the first time for being present, for listening. Thank you for all those I know as well for staying with me. I'm incredibly grateful. Thank you. There are some books to buy, mine and Petra's, and yeah, you can please enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.